Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Think Your Way to an Epic Life. We sure appreciate you tuning in. Today's story is a story of resilience. What is it really like to come to America from the Middle East and start your life all over? Learn all the new customs, integrate into society, make the friends, get the jobs, get the connections to do what you need to do. This is a true American success story, even though Keren was born and raised in Israel. Her and her family moved to the United States with two suitcases, 800 bucks. And today she's the proud mom of two, and she is the number one real estate agent in all of Sussex County in New Jersey. And guys, she's already done $24 million in real estate production this year alone. It's possible. She gives you the tips, the tricks, the grit, all of it, everything that's necessary to make this a reality. Hope you enjoy as much as I did.
Be honest. Have you been telling yourself things will calm down soon for way too long?
We see it all the time. Burnout doesn't always have to look like you're falling apart. Sometimes it just feels like you lost your spark, but you're still pretending everything's fine.
So, we're inviting you to our next free Zoom Masterclass on July 16th. Avoiding burnout isn't enough. Here's how to reignite.
This one's all about helping you reconnect with what actually fuels you. No, not caffeine or pressure, but something deeper, something lasting.
You'll learn how to stop pushing and start realigning. And no, we're not saying you need to quit your job or move to the mountains. Unless you want to, I know a really good realtor.
You just need to remember who you are beneath the busyness and how to tap in that part of you that loves life again.
Sounds like a great deal. So, if you've been grinding through your days and secretly wondering, is this all there is? We've got you.
Just click on the link in the show notes or scan the QR code. It's free, it's live, and yes, there will be laughter, possibly at my expense.
I try not to, but absolutely. Also, some breakthroughs too.
We'll see you there.
So, Keren, welcome to Think Your Way to an Epic Life.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Kara.
I am so excited about this podcast. Guys, like I said in the intro, we are going to dig deep here. So, you grew up in Israel.
Yes.
How many times you grew up until you were 13 years old? How many times did you move before you moved to the United States?
5 times.
So from the age of 0 to 13, you moved 5 times. So you kind of had that in your blood. And then
Yes.
your parents come to you and they say, we're out of here because
the Gulf War had happened and my dad was a paramedic. And as a result of that, he would be sent home on Friday to go home. And on Saturday night, he would get his orders to go back in on Sunday morning. Because in Israel, your weekend does not include Sundays. And so Friday's kind of an off day or a half day. Saturday is the day the world stops. And then Sunday, you go back to work.
wow.
So it was just a lot for him, and he was one of the better paramedics in the IDF. And so as a result of that, they kept calling him back. And he ended up going to my mom and saying, and this is mandatory. This is not an option. You don't have an option as an Israeli man or a woman to say, you know what, I'm not serving, because then you're in violation of an order. And Israel takes that stuff very seriously, and rightfully so, because without the military, Israel would not exist. And so with that being said, he came to my mom and said, we got to go because I am not going to make it. My dad was one of those paramedics that refused to carry a gun. He's very anti-war. And so he was one of those guys running up and down the battlefield and treating people without a gun. So I can't even imagine the amount of stress that he was under. Like, we sit here in the US where it's not mandatory, where people decide to go and join the military. In Israel, it's not an option, and they're under war threat literally every day. And
Right.
so he said, there has to be a better way for us to live our lives. I cannot stay here because our daughters would be orphaned of a father because I can't do it anymore. And so we got on a plane and left at the end of April of 91 after the war ended, and came here with 2 suitcases and $800. And that was our entire possession in the entire world.
So, wow. So oh, I'm sorry. Mom, dad, and two girls, dependent
Yes,
ages. You were 13. How old was your sister?
she was 10.
10. Moved to the United States of America with 800 bucks. And who received you when you arrived here?
So my mom had a really good childhood friend that she had been in contact with. So we moved to their house for about a month in Connecticut, in Fairfield, Connecticut. And while we were there, they were looking for a house to rent and they were going out on jobs and stuff like that. And within a month, they were able to rent a house for us and they had jobs lined up.
Wow. Wow. So what an education for you.
It's a crash course, Kara.
Well, yes, and so you grow up in Israel, and you all you know about America is what you're seeing on television.
Correct.
What were you most surprised by?
That New York wasn't all about, gangs and robberies and people being mean to each other and how fast people spoke because I did learn English from the shows that I was watching on TV. But people talk so fast and they also swallow their words where I enunciate because I'm just that way. But most Americans swallow their words. And so I had to ask people to slow down so that I could actually understand what they were saying, which is really funny because I went right into ninth grade and we studied Shakespeare. And Shakespeare to me was like English. I read Shakespeare like it was literally the words we were speaking, like the spoken language. So much so that my English teacher asked me to help the American students because for them, they couldn't understand the Shakespearean English, whereas for me, it was super easy.
That was real English, and what we speak is
Yes.
something a
Slang.
little different.
Yeah, more like slang. For instance, so my fiance is also Israeli, but I read a lot and I read and write and speak in Hebrew, but the language I speak is like a higher level. He's more on the slang or the street language. So when I say certain Israeli sayings or certain Israeli words, he says, that's not a word. And I tell him it absolutely is. And I know Hebrew better than you do because I read books and I'm educated, and you just speak the street language. He disagrees with me, and thank God for Google. Google proves that I'm right.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, you can't get away with just puffing and not knowing the truth these days. It's
No,
just
not at
a
all.
da 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 da. There you go.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
What was your biggest culture shock when you arrived here?
I was no longer so in Israel, we back then, 34 years ago, we did have ketchup, but not as much as we do these days in Israel. And so my parents used to tease me all the time, and they would say, "You're American," because I used to love ketchup. And so when we came here, first of all, the ketchup was different because it wasn't as sweet. I think the sugar content in Israel is a bit higher on the ketchup. I know, shocking.
Very.
And I was no longer called an American because everybody had ketchup. So it wasn't like, you like too much ketchup, you know? So that was fun. But
That's
people were
cool.
super nice in Connecticut. I was definitely an outsider because I would say I had an accent, obviously, because all I did is learn the language from episodes on TV. But my accent wasn't that clear to people. And so everybody was super nice. And I didn't get close to people in Connecticut because they kept me at an arm's length. And I think I was just an odd bird. I was one of those girls that had no interest in guys and no interest in fashion. All I wanted was to read books and play with my animals. That's all I wanted to do.
I love that. And I bet you're probably very similar today.
I am.
So what advice would you give to someone who is in the Middle East and is planning and hoping and praying that they can come to America too? What tips would you give them?
To just do it. Just do it because your mentality as coming from a different country, you're used to the opportunities your country has for you. But here there's so much more, and people are a lot more open-minded, and this country is founded on immigrants. No one here, except for Native Americans, obviously, is native to the country. And so just try it because the odds are that your neighbor is from someplace else. Like even in my house, my one neighbor is literally fresh off the boat from Italy. The neighbor across the street, his parents came from Europe of some sort. And here locally where I live, there are a lot of people from Denmark, from the Netherlands, from Germany, a lot of places in Europe, from Poland. So here we have a great mix of immigrants, even though they're probably second and third generations, not like me, where my kids are first generation. It's totally worth it. It just, people are very tolerant of immigrants. And I think most people understand that when we come here, we come for the opportunity. We want to contribute, not the other way around. We're not sitting on our butts at home collecting welfare or unemployment. We just want to gung ho go and get whatever we can out of the country, which is amazing because we're also building not only the culture, but the industry as well.
Shooey, absolutely. And just your story alone, guys, just so you know, like we talked about it in the intro, but the average realtor sells 8 homes a year.
Right.
That's average. Um,
Yeah.
you have so exceeded that. So it's not just that you're getting everything from this country to serve someone in the capacity. I'm a recovering team owner of real estate. To serve someone in that capacity is no easy walk in the park kind of a, here's your job description. If you
Right.
just check these 5 boxes and you do this, then the house will close. No, it's nothing like that. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, the service that you provide of providing home ownership to people,
Right.
home ownership is, oh,
The American dream.
why? Why do you think it's the American dream?
Because you own a piece of land and it's yours to do whatever you'd like with, but these are your roots. And this is what I try to explain to other people, that there's a reason why this is the American dream. There's a reason why, for instance, in Israel, a young couple lives with their parents for the first 5 to 10 years because they're trying to put their money together in order to be able to buy a house. Whereas here, if you have two working adults, odds are they can buy a house just based on their finances and however much money they were able to save for the down payment. But we have so many good programs and so many loans that even someone who's just a working professional and has someone else by their side who's doing the same, there's no reason why they can't qualify. In Israel, for instance, houses start at like 2, 3 million dollars. Yeah, that's what they start at. An apartment, a tiny apartment, is like 1.5 million if you want an apartment. Ridiculous amounts of money. I don't even understand how a couple can do anything over there. Whereas here, we have houses in Sussex County where they're like, well, after this market boom, I would say our median is about 360, but that's still a nice house. A 3 bedroom, 2 bath around 360 is a no-brainer. And you only need, if because we are rural and we have USDA loans, you can do it with 0 down, or you could do FHA, which is 3.5. You could do conventional, which is a lot more, but you choose. And these opportunities do not exist in other countries. So I think the opportunities we have here in general are just immense. And it's amazing to me that people don't take advantage of it. And I speak to a lot of people, renters, and I say to them, the amount of money that you're paying for rent right now could go towards a mortgage where you're paying your own equity into your house as opposed to paying someone else's mortgage.
It's beautiful. And it's very true. And the net worth of the average renter is $6,000. The average net worth of a homeowner is $455,000. And you don't have
Exactly.
to just own one. You can also invest, you know.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can and you should. And I'm sure we could get on a soapbox about that. You mentioned that home ownership is one of the things that Americans don't take advantage of, that is right there for them to take advantage of. What are some of the other things that you feel like Americans just don't appreciate about living in America?
Freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom to walk down the whatever you want, freedom to be friends with different people, freedom to start your own business. You could get an SBA loan and get going and use other people's money or the government's money to start your own business. And whatever your dream is, just make it happen. Whereas because immigrants come from other places that don't have these opportunities, this is why you see so many foreigners being business owners because of this opportunity that Americans don't necessarily take advantage of because they don't have that mindset of how do I do better? How do I get better? How do I do something different? How do I secure generational wealth to my family, my children, my grandchildren? That thought is not really invested in children when they're born and throughout their lives. Whereas in other countries, it is taught. Like my kids know. My one kid wants to go into HVAC. So I told him, no problem, go to school. We will pay for it, no problem. And then what you're going to do is you're going to live in our house. You're going to pay us rent. And when you're ready, we're going to go out and buy you a house of your own. And then after you apprentice for a few years, you're going to open your own company and we will just funnel business to you because everybody needs an HVAC person. And so that's what I try to teach my kids all the time of how to be more industrious in their life.
It's not taught. You're right. It is, it seems like there is quite an entitlement going on, whereas immigrants get here and they're like, whoo, okay, let me go. I can sleep later. Let's go. Let's get this done.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what and I can learn and I can do all that stuff that's super important. So were there any beliefs or behaviors that you really had to completely change to be successful in the US?
Not at all. My parents, and I think I had mentioned it before, I grew up in an entrepreneurial home. So my parents were always working, but my sister and I never felt like we didn't have time with our parents. They were always working, but that's where I got my work ethics from. This is why I'm up between 5 and 5:30 every day and I do all my stuff that I need to do and then I could start my day. This is why I have time to do a podcast because for me, I'm very regimented with my time. Google Calendar is my best friend. And if
Amen.
anyone ever says, well, you missed our coffee date, I would say, if you didn't get a Google invite from me, it's not happening. I could have said to you 4 times, yes, yes, I'll meet you. But if you didn't get a Google Calendar invite, it's just not happening and you'll have to deal with it because there's no other option.
It is the way it is. If it's
Yeah,
not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. I love it.
exactly.
It doesn't. I mean, yeah, that is something that I think people really it's very hard to wrap their mind around someone
Right.
who works at the level that you do. And it's there can be up to 27 different professionals involved in the sale of one home. You are the conductor of all those 27 people, and you're the
Exactly.
one who has the relationships with them so that when your buyer or your seller needs something, they get taken care of. And they're like, wow, that was amazing. Why? Well, because you do a lot of volume. And so
Right.
you've got to
I'm also a control freak, so let me just mention that. I'm very much a control freak because I have to be the orchestrator of all these different things. So, being that I use the lender that I want, the inspector that I want, the septic inspector I want, the title person I want, if my buyer or my seller has a question at 8:30 at night and my vendor of some sort does not pick up the phone after I call them to ask them questions, that'll be the last time I work with them. And I'm not talking about things that happen in the family. God forbid, we all have health things that we need to deal with. I'm talking about not answering the phone because you just figured you don't have to. Anybody I work with knows they have to make themselves available. And if I'm working, they're working.
whew, you're a tough cookie.
I
So
am.
what advice would you give immigrants who want to succeed in business in America?
I would say learn the way that things are done here and then do them your way.
That's brilliant. And guys, I'm just going to go a little deeper into what she just said to give you a visual. So the model is that it's like this. This is the model, and this is the way other people do it. So you do it this way until you master this. And once you have this, if you figure out, you know what, it's easier to do it this way than do it that way.
Exactly.
Is that where you're
That's
at?
exactly it. One of the reasons that I do so well in business is because I think outside the box. So if there's an issue, if it's a problem, it has a solution. But when you're dealing usually on the outside looking in, people say that Americans are square because we follow all the rules and we do exactly what we're supposed to. But here I come along and I say, well, I'm not breaking the rules. I'm just thinking of a different way to do things to get things done. And so this is one of the reasons that I do well, because I always can come up with a way to resolve the issue without anyone having any issues, but they're just not seeing it because they're like this. They have blinders on and they think this is the only way to do things. When you're an immigrant, because you deal with hardships that we do in other countries, there's always a different way that you could look at things because of where you've come from. And so this is one of the reasons that I am successful, which is what I teach my agents. Anytime that there's an issue, you guys come to me. I assure you, I will have a way to solve the problem that you are not thinking about.
So, are there any books, mentors, that type of thing that you would recommend to others who want to kind of follow in your footsteps?
I would say read anything you can because you never know what's going to click for you. You never know what's going to make sense. So I've read Tony Robbins, Brian Buffini, Jared James, everybody under the sun that touches on business or real estate. I've read their books. I mean, I could show you the books that I have just on my reading list.
Uh-huh.
For instance,
One of the best books ever written.
yeah, and then there's a bunch of books in Hebrew, which I won't show you because that doesn't matter. There's this book that I haven't read yet. I just bought it a few weeks ago.
Whoa, fun.
Yeah, and then there's my office and there's my library. There's always something that I'm doing because it's all part of my toolbox. I am the eternal student. If someone did something that worked, I want to know how I can make my job better and what I output to my clients and my agents. That's my purpose, to just make it better for everyone.
I love that. Steve Jobs was famous for that. People, they would work on something, work on something, work on something, then they get it, and it's like it's here, and everybody's like that, and he's like, okay, how can we make it better?
Yeah, which is really funny because when I first started in real estate, and my trajectory was very much like this, because statistics, when I started in 2017, statistics say that the first year an agent sells one house and makes $8,000. I sold 19 and made $35,000, but that's because I was a brand new agent and my broker was getting 50% of my commission, which is fine because that's how you learn. You pay your dues. I don't have a problem with that. But I look at statistics as something that I have to beat. Like, this is what I have to beat. This is what I have to do better. And that's what I tell my agents. So I have two brand new agents, literally fresh off school. And they said, we know we're not going to have any sales in the first year. We've read up on it. Other people have told us. And I said, absolutely not. I said, I'm giving you 3 months to have your first transaction. And wouldn't you know, they just got to their 2 month mark and they both have their first transaction under contract today.
Right on.
And that's what I tell them. You don't have any other options. Your options are to beat me. These are my stats for my first year. I want to see you doing better than me, and I will give you the tools to do better.
That's beautiful. And that is the true test of a leader, is when the student excels the teacher. So
Exactly.
yeah,
And
you
it's
gotta.
really funny when I first started, my fiance, who was in construction, he was not in real estate at the time. Now he is. But he said to me, "Well, don't tell them what works for you because then they will have the same tools as you." And I said, "Are you kidding? If I teach them what I did and they do better, our community will be better." And that's what I want. I want real estate agents to not be just a step above car salespeople. I want us to be all the way at the top because that's where we should be.
Absolutely. So let's nuts and bolts, systems, routines. What has really helped push you to the level that you're at now? And I know this is just a ground floor again, right?
Yeah.
But you've achieved a lot.
Believing in myself, believing that I can, and working towards it, not sitting back and saying, okay, it's going to come to me. I really shot in each and every direction that I could. I went to town meetings. I can't even remember how many committees in the township I was on, whether it was beautification, economic development, anything I could get my hands on. I also joined my board, and in my board, I was doing everything, whether it was a director, treasurer, vice president, president. I've done it all, and I've helped on every committee at my board, whether it was YPN or finance or education or outreach or community. I did all of that because what I saw as the value is not only who I was helping, but it's also because I have to get people to know me. When an agent calls and says, I'm taking your offer because it's you and
Yep.
I know you, that's a true testament that you've made it. And this is why I make all my agents go to all the events. We go to all the classes together. This is why in this cycle, we're supposed to have 24 credits. I had 64 credits because I just love learning. One of my agents left in the middle of the cycle and came back and didn't have to do any credits because of the classes I made him take. He already had enough credits to make the next cycle. So there's a reason why I do things, and I would say my agents have complete trust in me that I will not lead them wrong.
Wow, that is a true testament to lifelong learner status. And lifelong learner status is really, guys, the only way that you will become and maintain a very successful life. Because, I mean, oh my gosh, how much do you not know, Karen?
Oh, what I know is the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. I mean, exactly. And that's the thing I don't think people realize is the more it's like I've got this visual of it, the more that you learn, it's like you fill up an entire room and then you're like, I know everything. And then you pop that lid and it's like there's a much, much bigger room right on top of that. And you get to learn all that. And it is, and it's
Exactly.
fun. It's really, it's fun to learn and to know.
I agree. And I find that I actually learn better when I have to teach other people. There's a reason why they say that the student has risen above his teacher because different people see things differently. And as a result of that, when they ask me a question that I've never been asked before, now I have to not only think about the answer, I have to do research because I'm teaching them. And they see it totally differently than I do. So now I have to go back to my real estate book, start doing some research so I can teach them better. But this is new knowledge that I didn't know, which is why I love teaching because of the learning that I do as a result of teaching others.
I just remembered that I really wanted to clarify something you said earlier. For those of you that are listening that are not in real estate, when she's talking about the board, that's the board of real estate, and every city, state has boards, and you pay to be a member of them. And if so you can apply that to whatever you're doing, especially if there are boards that are available or conventions that you can go to, be around the very best of the best in your industry, whether they're in your company or not, is basically
Absolutely.
what you do.
And the other thing you want to do is you want to join networking groups or start your own, which is what I did 6 years ago. I wanted to start a BNI chapter, but because I was at the time a newly divorced single mom, there was only one day that I could because that was the day that my kids were with their dad. And so it was Thursday morning, and BNI said, you can't have Thursday because there's a chapter half an hour away from you. And in case we have to go to that chapter, you cannot have Thursdays. And so I went back to the group of people. We had 13 people, which is what BNI required. And I said, look, I can't do any other day, but I don't want to get in your way. I can find you another agent that will be in your networking group, and I'll step away and I'll do something different. And they said, absolutely not. It was me and another gentleman that were the founders. And then we brought along another 10, 11 people in order to start this chapter. And they said, absolutely not. Let's just do our own. And that was 6 years ago. And we have over 40 members now. And last year, we did 1.2 million dollars in business between the group members, which if you're in Sussex County, things are a lot cheaper. And so to reach that level of profit is just mind-boggling for this area.
It is beautiful. And you guys, I highly recommend BNI. It's very tough for a realtor to get in one. So that you do pretty much have to start them because every
Nobody ever
chapter has
leaves.
a realtor. Right. Nobody ever leaves. And it is brilliant. It really is. I feel very strongly that the true measure of success at the end of your life is how deep are your relationships. And that's what it's all about. So,
Exactly.
what final words of wisdom do you have for our folks?
I would say believe you can and then go and do it.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. So you're on Think Your Way to an Epic Life. What advice do you have to help our people think their way to their own epic life?
So I have to say that in my life, it's always helped me to help others. And my success came as a result of my will to help other people. So I would say start from there. Start with kindness. Start with things you can help other people with, and the rest will come to you.
That's Zig Ziglar in a box right there. If you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get what you want. He said it much more eloquently than I did,
He
but
did. And that's also the principle of karma. Do good unto others and good will come to you. And that's definitely something that both my fiance and I believe in. And that's just how we live our lives. We help people just because we want to help people. And I'm assuming this is also why the trajectory of my career has been so steep in its success, because when I help other people, it's not thinking of what am I going to get back from it. It's literally just to help other people.
it's magic. It's
It
just
is.
truly
That's the
magic.
secret sauce to everything.
It is. It truly is. Karen, this has been an absolute blast. You are very fun. I'm very proud of you. And
Thank you, Sarah.
guys, if you want to get a hold of her, all of her stuff is in our show notes here. Just click below and she will hook you up with a beautiful new home. Karen, thank you.
Thank you, Kara.